Hello everyone and welcome back to today's another tutorial. So today we will cover the basic of Python syntax and some functional that fundamental data types. So by the end of this tutorial we will know how to write the simple Python code and understand the key data types used Python programming. Okay, so today first of all I'm going to explain the basic syntax. Now let us start with the basic syntax of Python is long for this is the readability. To write on the Python code, you don't need to use the curly phrase like this many other language. Tweet is indentation is key. So tweet is for example, for instance, we found the function used for the deep keyword follow by the function name and a follow. And the body of the function is indented like this. So now let's see this example, the basic syntax of Python programming. So first of all, type the text and then type also the grid, and in this instance I'm using this, and now apply this clause, and here I'm using the print function, and in this inside I'm just typing the quotation and then type here is a hello world in this program. Okay, now just going this outside, and here I'm declare for this grade in this function, and you can see here is perfectly defined a simple grade function that's being hello world and call the function. Okay, so now let's see the output. So you can see just a quick into the green run icon. As you can see here, it will probably show the message for hello world. Okay, so here is done. Now let me explain for the data types. So in this Python program, the Python data types are the classification or categorization data items. It represents the kind of value that shows that operation can be performed as particular data. This every object in Python programming. So Python data design classes and the variables adding instance object of those classes. And now here we explain for the standard building data types in Python, like numeric sequence type, Boolean state dictionary, and also further binary types like the memory view, byte array and the bytes. Okay, so do this in this tutorial. I'm applying for the some basics data types. Okay, so Python has several built-in data types. So the most common ones are integer, float, string, and boolean. So first we have explained using for the teaser and the floating point data types. Okay, so here in this example, integer are whole number like 5 or decrement 3, while float are the decimal number like 4.5 or decrement or 2.3. So now let's see this example. So you can see here, first of all define the variable x is equal to value 5 is integer type. Next I'm declaring this variable y is equal to apply here for 0.5. So now just print for those variable values, and you can see just I'm applying this print function. This inside just type for, and this inside I'm including here the x variable, and also doing this next line to print function and then including type, and also insert it for the variable of y. And you can see here is perfectly using this type. In this function just check the type of the variable, and here x is an integer and y is a float. Okay, so now let's see the output. You can see just click on this icon, and as you can see here, first of all class is integer type, and second the class is floating type. Okay, so I hope you understand perfectly. So next topic for this stream are sequence of character enclosed from in single or double quotations. Okay, so now this defines, you can say first of all I'm going to type the name SQL equal to inside it for the name is in. So here I'm going to apply the name is in, and including here The next step I'm going to apply is a print function defined for the name is output printing for the symbol of name. And next is here. I'm using the type, the show the type, and now including this type method and this inside, I'm perfectly including this one, and you can see here this name is a string with a value for the gene. Okay, so now just I'm saving this code and let me run this code again. So you can see here it's supposed to be printing this name for this gene and the type for its string type. Okay, so I hope you're understanding the basic data types. So next I'm also creating here is a boolean data types. So boolean is a represent for true or false value commonly used in condition and the comparison. Okay, so now let's create this example. And first of all, I type for is active. Imperfectly type this active in the equal printing. The message is true. Another option for false. So now just making type for this and that for is the admin of the code true. So in the COBOL 2, here I'm creating a box. So now I'm just using this output printing function. In this input, of course, is directly open, is active in this one. Next, I'm including for here is active. Show the type. Okay, so I'm applying this type, this method insert perfectly including here. So this is active. Okay. So this example is created 2 billion variables like is active and is admin with a variable is true. The pause is respectively. You are not just in saving this code. You can see here the 3 point in this run icon says again here first function is the first is actively true and here the activity the PO tag. Okay. Now let's the tutorial is completely done. Now, I will teach you it just to be properly learned of this Python basic syntax. Using the 3 key data types like a teaser and the float for numbers, string for the text, and booleans for the true-false value. Okay. So understanding those basics is essential for any Python programmer. As from the conditions, the more complex the concept. Okay. Hi everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we'll be talking about the variables and the data types. So those are the fundamental parts of coding in Python and are essential for performing calculations and managing data in our Python program. So now let's get started. First of all, let me explain what are variables. So a variable is a simple way to store data that you can use and manipulate data. You can think of a variable like a label box that falls above. And in Python, you create a variable by accessing a value to a name using the sign. So today I'm using the example of assigning value to variables. Okay, so first of all, I'm defining for here the name is equal to, so I am including the name of Alice. Then I'm including for the Alice, age is 25 and also including for the Alice, height is 4.6 inch. Okay, so here this example is created those 3 variables like name, age and the height, storing a different type of data like name for is a net integer and the height block is Python is a type and that means it doesn't have the clear and the data that is explicit. Okay, so knowledge from this code you can see here the first of all I'm not just define this brain function. Okay, so properly using, so now just type in the print function and first of all I'm print here the name print. Secondly, apply again the print function and properly print for in this page and also including here again another print function and this inside the including this height. Okay, so now just I'm again running this phone and see the result. First of all, this person name is Alex, the person age is 25, and the person height is 5.6. Okay, so the Python figured that out based on the value you assign. Okay, yes, done. And now it's perfectly completing those variables. The next topic part is operators. First of all, we explain the operators. So operator L was to perform the different type of operations on variables like addition, subtraction, and the comparisons. And in this Python operation fell into several categories such as authentic, assignment, and comparison, and the logic. So today, first of all, I'm using and just go over the most common operators you will use in Python. Okay, so now, first of all, here I'm applying a arithmetic operators. Okay, so now just here, first type the variables is equal to 10. Okay, then define the b variable of 5. And now here this type for the condition is the addition to equal to clear the a additional operator for b variable. Okay. So here I'm just using the space because it is next step. We have to type for a subtraction is equal to a subtraction for b variable, and again using here is a multiplication. Okay, is equal to type for a multiplication operator for b. Next, I'm using here is a perfectly correct division is equal to a divide for b variable. Okay, so you can see here is perfectly using this array commit operation to perform this calculation between two numbers. And this will be the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division in action. Okay. So next I'm using the split function. First of all, I am printing for here is addition value. Next I'm printing here the subtraction value. Alright. Next one, apply this print function and including here is the multiplication. And the fourth line I'm apply is a division. Okay. So here we properly define, and you can see here is select both raw and few example too. So now let's see the output, and so you can see here first is the print the additional value for 15 subtraction by 5 multiplication 50, and the division here is 2.0. Okay, that's because it's completely working star. Okay, now let's go to another example. So now here I am using this a simple example called calculating the area of rectangle. And this example, just calculating the area of rectangle, uses variables to store the values of the length and the width of the star operator to find the area. Okay, so now just using this symbol, I have another example. Poster column defined for here is the length, and this is the equal to the length is the text. So now I'm using the complete alphabet with it equal to 5, and also here I'm typing area like creating this equation. Poster column defined is lit and multiplication sign for the width. So now I'm using this print function, and inside the poster column type method we can see here I type for the area of the rectangle is, and including here the symbol of the area. Okay, in this example, simply using this length and the width are our variable, and calculate the area by multiplying them, and when you run this code, the Python is output the area of the rectangle. So you can see here, just in click on this run icon, I'm going to say our output here, and area of the rectangle, the value you can pick. That means it's completely and perfectly working. Now, just I'm going for this another operator using this comparison operator. So now, let's see an example using this comparison operator. This operator helps compare two values and return either true or false. And let's say we want to check if a number is even or odd. And now let's apply. So just to remove this output and here do this example for checking if a number is even. So first of all, define this variable. Name is a number is equal to value for 10, and here I'm using this another variable for the event is equal to, first of all, I'm going to declare this number as a model in int and equal to 0. And now I'm using this simple print function and this insert constant as a method is number event k. And then apply this comma and then declare this variable is event, and you can see here is perfectly this model operator to find the reminder when this number is divided by 2 and it's 0. The number is given, the result is stored in the isEven variable and printed as true or false. Okay, so now let's see. You can see here properly if the number is even is true because the even number is perfectly printed here. Okay, it's done. So now I'm just also using the another example for using the logic operator. Okay, so for our final example, let's use this logic operator to check multiple of conditions. Logical operators like and or and not. So let's use this, let us combine conditions. So now this example for checking multiple condition with logical operator. Okay, so first of all, I will define the variable name of age is equal to 20. Then I am applying for has a permission. Okay, so you can see it perfectly as a permission. True. And the next point here I'm typing is a can underscore is a which is equal to define, including the variable is what has been provided for 18. And using this, the operator and also type of has permissions. Now, using this symbol of green function and use the inside and get the message for the first song on the boat. Okay. Then declare for here if the handboarding is visible. And you can see this template example. You can use this here. Indeed and operator to check if it's 18 or older. If the person has permission, the both condition must be true or handboard to be true. Okay, so now let's see the output here. So as you can see here, it's properly printing the output, so you can person know that is truth. What is that? Okay. That is for two tutorial. Today we learned how to create variable and arithmetic, comparison, logical operators. So for the 3 example, how they work together. So mastering these basics will help you build more complex Python program in the future. Okay. Hi everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we will cover the input and output operation in Python. So those are essential for creating interactive programs and where you can receive input from user and display results. So first of all, let me explain the what is input and the output in Python. First of all, in Python, input operations allow you to take information from the user, and while those output operations let you display the information in the screen. And this is some of most common basic functions in Python. Very easy to use. Okay, so today the input function let you take input from the user, while the print function allow you to display output. So now let's see how this works with a single and simple example. Okay. So first of all, the tool is the first example. taking input and displacing output. Okay, so first of all, define the name variable is equal to helper, and here is the input function. Here I have typed for the length, and you can see here I am type enter your name. And then here I'm using the symbol of the string function. Here the text passed message for hello, and using this condition operator. And you can name and again this condition and apply this in this icon. Okay, here is an example. We are using this input function to take the user's name, and here is the print function to grade them. And when you run this code, the will promote you to ensure your name and display a personalized rating. Okay, so now just to run this code and see the result, you enter your name, and now including the name is Jenny. Let's meet the press for the enter, and you can see here the hello Jenny name. Okay, so I hope you perfectly understand. It is simple example. So now I'm just using this other example for a BC calculator. So for the first example here, this create a simple calculator that takes two numbers as input and display their sum. Okay, and now this newly created a simple calculator supposed to define the number 1. So here I'm using this float point, and in this inside I'm using this input function and type for here the message for interim first number. Okay, and go in this next step, and here I'm using the another number of 2, apply here as a floating point, and this inside the type for input. Now here type for yet another message for insert second number. Okay, and go in the next line, and here I'm using this equation. So first of all, the result is equal to, now I'm using for the number one additional operator, including here is the number of, and you can here use horizon more is number plus minus, and you can see here I'm just going this next line in here. I'm using this print function, and first of all I'm printing here the sum is, and then declare the result in this variable. Okay, taking some simple of example, in this input function to get the two numbers from the user, you convert it to the plotting using a plot function and then add them together, and finally just use this print function to display the result. This way the user can enter any two numbers to get their sum instantly. Okay, so now let's see the output here, and you can see here is enter the first number, and number is 10, and enter the second number 20. Okay, so here you perfectly see the result here. So next topic, I'm using this another one for the formatting output, this input theme. And let's make a keyword in this output from more readable by using this input theme. And please allow us to inform our output easy, clean way. I can use this example. This will display student name and then grade. Okay, so now I'm creating this another of example for this using interesting core formatted output. Okay, so now first of all, the student name is variable is required to directly apply this input. And here I am typing for the entire classes. I enter the student name. Okay. And here it's perfectly done in this field. And now I'm using this another variable. The grade is equal to, again using this input function, and here enter for another laptop, so I'm going to type enter the students. Okay. Okay, so just in the time for this is a student grade. Okay. And then going to this next line, here I'm using the encoder print function, and now I'm here using this formatted output just behind. So first of all, using these curly brackets in the same set positive including these students. Next, I'm going for here in the age as chip. Okay, so in the age, okay, achieve a grid of using this. Again, this grid. And now just completely done. You can see here, take the student name and the grid as input and use the investing to format the output. The investing are very convenient because they let you embed a variable directly in the text and making it easy to create well-formed sentence. Okay, so now just save this code and click on run icon. So you can see here posted the print the student's name. I'm using an Alice and also enter the Alice grade of A, and here the Alice has achieved a grade of A. Okay, so here is perfectly done. This is student tutorial of today. Just we learn how to use this input function to get information from the user and the print to display output, and just also explore the formatted output word and string. So now this simple technique will help you build interactive program and make your output look cute. Okay. Hello everyone and welcome back to today's another tutorial topic. So today I am starting for the first program for in this tutorial. So in this tutorial for the Python programming series, we'll be discussing the conditional statement in Python, especially if else and the else statement. And this statement allows you to execute different block of code based on certain conditions, making your program dynamic and interactive. So now let's get started. First, I'm going to explain what the condition statements. So the conditional statements are essential in programming as they help control the call of the execution in Python. And use the if, else and the else if keyword to create the condition. Okay. First of all, I'm using the example of the field example. Here I am the check for the age check. Okay. This example determined if a user is an adult or a minor based on their age. Okay. So you can see, first of all, I define the variable of age equal to the type of integer type of age. In this instance, the type of the input will tell the method. So first of all, I'm typing here, enter your age. Okay. I'm going to this next statement here. I'm applying for the equal statement and define the age. And is greater than equal to the 18. Okay. Next, I'm using this here in this print function here. I'm printing the method of run. Okay. So you can see here I'm typed this adult, and also during this next one here I'm using the else statement. Okay. So now this next step I'm using this another print function, and now here I'm typing minus for you RA minus. Okay. So you can see here this simple example. Just take the user age as input and check if it's 18 or older. If the condition is true, you print that they can't an adult, and otherwise print they are minor. So now just I'm saving this code and let me run this code now. So as you can see here, show the input field, the enter your age is 26 and you are an adult. Okay, so you can see here is perfectly working, and the if and the else statement. Okay, so now here I am using this another of example for a grading system. And this lets create a grading system based on student score and using for if else to determine the grade. Okay, so first of all, here I'm applying the grading system type for variable score is equal to. So here I'm using the floating point in this inside. I'm typing the input here. So first of all, I'm here going to have to match the score, enter your score. Okay, so I'm just going to the same first time, and here I'm looking for keep the statement and type the score. I'm using a greater than is equal to for the 90. Okay, the next step we're using the simple print function, and this inside I'm including here the grade of A. Okay, and also in the next step here I type the elif and then type for in the variable score is greater than equal for the 18. I'm using this another print function. Now I'm printing here the grade of A. Sorry, A is the B. Okay, so here is a perfectly defined is the grade of B, and now just I'm again using for in the simple PLC and type is 4. And here I'm including for another one is greater than equal for 70. Okay. So now I'm again apply the spin function, and this is instance I'm using the another grade of a C. Then also using now you can see this another if else, and in this insert including for the symbol of this for is greater than equal to 60. So now just again use the string function, and this insert the type for here is read. So SOTRATE for it for okay. And next line here I'm using for is now properly apply in this else. Sorry, is only apply this else statement. I'm using this print function and this instant that I'm printing here. The grade of A is okay. You can see here it is properly defined, and you can see this example. The student core has input and check it against various trace holding using E and LC. And depending on the score, we print the corresponding grade and which score is below. And the 60 and the else statement giving the 9th grade. Okay. So now let's just save this code and run this code. I will be here, and the first of print here is 4 is 8. Now just type here is 6 9, and you can see the grade is 6. Okay, so I hope you understand this tutorial. Today I'll probably learn how to use conditional statement in Python 8, the if else, and solve this practical example A shape and grading system. Okay, so this is statement are the fundamental for controlling and follow of your program and making them more interactive. Okay. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our today's another tutorial on Python programming series. So today we're going to explore loops in Python, especially for loops and the while loops. The loops are the fundamental concept that allow you to execute a block of code multiple times, making your program more efficient and powerful. So now let's get started. First of all, let me explain what are loops. So loops are used in programming to repeat a section of code in Python, and we primarily use two types of loops. First of all, loops, and second, while loops. Okay, so today's around, let's jump into our first exam while we use for a loop to print numbers from 1 to 5. Okay, so now just type for 4, and then the variable is number team. And using this range, this function, those things are included value, this one, and including the 6. And now just I'm playing for this for the loop, and since simple example is done, and here just use for in this range for 1 to 6 to generate number from 1 to 5. And here in this, the for loop is iterate over each number in this range and prints it out. Okay, so this simple way to repeat action from your defined number of iterations. Okay, so now just let me run this code now, and as you can see here is properly printing the output for 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And you can see here is a completely working in this the boiler. Okay, now I'm just using another example for the while loop and here is a countdown. So let's look at the while loop. Create a countdown for 5 to 1. So just remove for this example, and here you apply the while loop for the countdown. First of all, I'm type 4 here. Is the countdown is equal for the number is 5. So next step here, I will apply this while loop. So now just I type for the while, and in this inside, including this count is greater than or 0. Okay, so next step, using this print function in this inside and including here, this is the countdown. So first of all, I will type the countdown is decrement to equal to 1. Okay, so you can see here is decrease the countdown by 1. This example, just iterate a variable countdown with the value of 5, and the while loop check if countdown is greater than 0. Inside the loop, the print the current value of the countdown, and then it's decrease it by 1. And this continues until the countdown is reached, but this is 0. So now just let's see the output. So you can just click on the run icon. As you can see here is perfectly printing output the decrease for 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and 8 means completely working in example. So now I'm just using this another example for loop to sum a list. For our final example, use a for loop to calculate the sum of numbers in a list. So you can see, use this example. So now just remove again in this for the first of all here I'm type the easy numbers equal to, now I'm including the sum number first time, including 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. Then I'm using this another variable total is equal to 0, and now I apply here for the loop condition. So for if I need in this the number, and in that numbers, and the next line here I am including this total and a space and then plus equal to in this the number because it is add number to the total. So now we are using this again here the print function, and then type the first the message, the first type for a year. So the total sum is, and then apply for here, and you can see the total. Okay, so this is example just to define a list of numbers and initialize the variable total to 0, and then use a for loop to just iterate for each for this number in this list adding to total, and finally just to print out the total sum, just show how for the loops works. Can be used for processing those calculation of data. Okay, so now just saving this code, click indebted to run, and as you can see here the total, the sum of the total of sum is 150. That means is perfectly processing selection in this data. Okay, so now that's it for the tutorial. The tutorial will learn about loops in Python, focusing for loops and while loops. Okay, so I hope you perfectly understand in this tutorial topic. Hello everyone, and welcome back to today's another Python programming series. So today we will discuss the two important controls for the statement like break and continue. These statements helps us control the execution of loop more effectively. So now let's dive right in. So first let me explain what is break and continue statement. So the break statement is used to exist a loop here they prematurely. Waiting the continued statement keeps the current operation and the loop into the next one. So now here's a quick look at how each of them works. So first topic for using a break to exist a loop. So let us start with the first example of using this break statement. I'm just going to create a program that searches for a specific number in a list and adjust the loop when it found it. Okay. So today I'm using this example for break to adjust the loop. So first of all, I declare here the numbers to equal to. So now I'm including the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. So now just I'm going here and type for the completely using the search number is equal to 4. Then I'm apply here the following the number is in the numbers. Okay. Then I apply here if statement and declare the numbers is double equal to define for in the search number. Okay. So now I'm using the print function and now here I'm using the formatted output. For the first of all, I am tag the pound and using this curly bracket. So this inside I'm including in this number. So now you can see here the break statement and you can see the exit the loop. So you can see here this the example. Just iterate to the numbers list looking of the search numbers. When you find the number is 4 and you print out and use the break to exit the loop here immediately. Let's make a search with the same sense and we'll stop looking once we find our to start. Now let's save this code and run, see the output. As you can see here, shows the output, the furthest one. Look, let's look at that. Okay, so next topic for the continue. So now I'm using this continue statement with the key variation. So now let's look at the example using this continue statement with 3D program that brings even numbers from 1 to 10, but it keeps the odd numbers. Okay, so now let's see this another of example. You can see here I'm using this continue, this key variation, posting declare this for loop. I'm using here for the number in the range. Okay, those things are including the value. First I'm including 1 and now we are using this statement and have the number in. Okay. So now you are using this number and the model block 2 and here is no. Go to 0. Okay. So next one you will just type for here is the continue statement with key the odd number and I am perfectly print for the symbol of the number and you can see this will print only even 1 now. Okay. The English loop to the number is 1 and the odd number and use the continue to skip the print statement for that calculations. And you can see here this loop is true and this 10 and it's printed only the even numbers are printed. So now let's see the output again here. So just you can click on this one icon and I can see here the reason is the even number is perfectly printed the 2 and 8 and 10. Okay, so it's done. Now I'm using for the another important example. Now today I'm using this combining break and a continuous statement. And let's write a program that checks for prime numbers up to 20. Keep non-prime numbers. Okay, so we can state today, first of all, I am defining this number as well. Change those numbers, of course, using these 2 and another number is 21. Then I apply for here it, say again, the follow-up and including 4, I variable in the range. And this inside custom including the number of 2 and also define this variable is a number. Next step, here I apply this if this statement and declare this number. and this module for I is equal to 0, and also using this continuous statement is keep non-prime numbers. I'm just going to the next line. Here I apply the same function and property, printing this number. And I can see this example just throw loose from 2 and to 20 for each number. Just check it is division by the smallest number. If he just keep the next iteration using this continue, finally just to print the prime number. However, since there is a logical error and I should use this break instead of the continue when you find a divisor. So now let's see this program output. Now just click on the green icon, and as you can see here, it's perfectly printing the number here is perfectly print a continue and stop for here the number is a 20. Okay, so I hope you understand. This is simple of example. Just in this tutorial I have just explored the break and continue statement in Python, and so learn for how to break can exist loop here is a permanent way. Okay. Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we are going to learn about defining function in Python. So functions are the crucial part of programming as they help us organize our code, make it usable, improve readability. First of all, let us explain what is a function. So a function is a block of code that performs a specific task. So you can think of it as a mini program that can call whenever you need it. The function allows us to encapsulate logic and make your code cleaner. So you can see, first of all, see here the basic syntax of defining a Python in program. So you can write here this state and creating the symbol of the function name. And this insert include here is a parameter. Okay. And also in this next line and in this insert just export the executive, and then also here I'm using the return statement, the result. Okay, so you can see here I'm using the tip keyword to define a function and followed by the function name. The parameter is parenthesis inside this. Parentheses can specify the parameter, and with an input to function, then the code block is indented under the function's definition and can here be officially use this. Okay, so now today I'm using the first example for a simple function without parameters. So now here is the define a simple function that reads a gradient. Okay. So now just remove the first of all, I'm defining the state, then type for a grade in this function, and we're using this without this interlock message. So you can see here, first of all, I'm using the double quotations and this insert and the type the message for hello and then type this welcome. Okay, so welcome to the Python. Okay, so just Python program. Sorry, I just typed pro. Okay, so progra can my program. Okay, I'm using this symbol and also going and just calling the function. You can see this simple and this example is define the function here. Create a welcoming message and we'll call the function using this. Read the function is execute the code instead it. And this is a basic function without any parameter. Okay, so now let's see the output here. And you can see here is the perfectly printed message for hello and welcome to the Python program. Okay, it's done. The next topic is we're creating this function with parameter. So just create a function that may add a text parameter to calculate the area of rupture. Okay. And now just remove this and all code, and first again define the state of the variable name and this type for calculate area. This inside include the true variable is the length, and the second type is for the width. Okay. Also, just next line, I'm declaring this area is equal to creating equation, name and multiplication sign for in this way. Now I'm using this just type for the return statement in this that area. Okay. So now I'm just calling the function. So using this result is equal to. So just I'm going to calculate the including the 5 and 3, and I'm just using this frame function, and then I'm printing here the message. So first of all, I'm type the area is a rectangle, and this insert I'm including here the symbol of the result. Okay, so you can see this function is calculate the area that takes the two parameters. First one length and second for the width. And inside this function, this will calculate the area by multiply those two values, then return the result. Then for when is call is calculate area for here for 5 and 3, it compute the area and print it out. Okay, so now let's run the code and see the result. So you can see here the result of the area of rectangle is a picture. Okay, perfectly working, and now I'm using this. Another example for function wait default parameter. Final example, this creative function wait default parameter to create user, and this way is the node name is provided. I will use it. Okay, so now let's create this example, and you can see here to remove forward in this all code. Again, find this function D and then type 4. Here is a grade. So those things that I'm including here, the name is the parameter is a guest. Okay, so just in perfectly type is in guest, and also in this next line here I'm defining for this simple print function, and now I use it a primitive output for first of all I'm printing for hello, and this inside including here is the name parameter, then type for another message. So first of all I type welcome to the Python program. Okay, so just don't type for here is the Python in this the program. Okay, and also in this next line here I define is calling the function. So first of all I'm type for here, so you can see first I'm using this create user is the for the default parameter. Next time you again type for here is create user, this instance that I'm including person is a Rohan. Okay, so you can see this example in this function for the create user has a default parameter. The name set is to guest, and going just to call the create user without an argument is use the default value. However, if we call it with a name like create user like Johan and is overrated, you call it create for the Johan industry. Okay, so now let's save this code and see the output. And as you can see here, posted a printing call guest welcome to the Python program, and next on here the hello zone to the welcome to the Python program. Okay, so now here is completely done. This is tutorial. Hello everyone, and welcome back to today's another tutorial for Python programming series. So today we'll discuss functions, those parameters and the arguments, understanding this concept for writing effective function. So now let's get started. First of all, let me explain what are parameter and argument. The parameter are variable listed inside the parameter list in the function definition. They act as the placeholder to the value you pass to function. And next one for the argument, on the other hand, are the actual value you provide to the function when you call it. Any simple term parameter like the integer, string, cup, while argument are the specific item you can use in this result. Okay, so now if the student using example for function with positional parameters. Okay, so now let's get started. You can see, first of all, I'm typing here the date and also type here including the function name that add numbers. This instead of including two parameters, first A and B. Next, I'm using the statement for the return A and additional operator for B variable. Now just I'm calling the function, so use the symbol of the result if we call the add number, now including the value 7 and the 9. Okay, so now I'm simply apply the skin function, and in this inside output message sum and calling the result. Okay, so you can see it here is completely done, and you can see this example. We define a function called the add numbers with two parameters like A and B. And when you call the function with argument for 7 and 9, it adds them together and return the result. Okay, so now let's see the output and see. Okay, you can see here the total result and the output will show on the sum of 60. Okay, it's done this simple example. Let's talk about for the function with default parameter. This is the second example, just where we create a function with default parameter, and it's allow us to provide a default value if no argument is given. Okay, so now let's create this another example. So first of all, here I'm declaring this function's name. The type for is it great. In this inside and define for the name, and including here the same name is the guest, and also this next step in here, and using this simple print function, I'm going to apply the formatted output. So first I'm printing the file and using this curly bracket, this inside including this name in this, and now just calling this function using, so first I'm using this empty discrete function. This is the default parameter. Just again calling this storage, and in this inside including the name is me. Is the override this default parameter. Okay, so now just I'm saving this port and let me run this port now. As you can see here, the symbol of error here is the provide. So now let's just check the port again, this port, and then run. Okay, so you can see first of all I'm using this great function is names. Okay, so you can see here is the float only using this equalizer sign, and then now it's working in this program. So I will just again save this code and let me run this code now. As you can see, it's perfectly framed or high guest of the high skin. Okay, so you can see here it's properly using this function with default parameter, and now I'm just using this another example for function with keyword argument. So now let's create those allow us to specify which parameter we are providing when calling the function. Okay, so now will create this new another, for example, this function name and create this display information. Okay, so here I'm just create this information and just type OK. Let's create this new another example. This function name is create this display information. Display for is information. So now including the parameters. So firstly include here the name parameter. Second the include here is the age parameter. Okay. Here I'm using the symbol of brain function and using for informative that the person include here is the same. Okay. This calling for the kind of brackets defined is name, and also including here the age and using the curly braces and define this age variable. Okay, so now just calling the function with the keyword argument, and so now I am just calling this display information, And in this inside function, including that age is equal for the 30 and the name is equal to including the person name is Bob. Okay, so here is completely done in the symbol of example, and now just saving this code, and lately we run this and the code output. And here posted painting, the name is Bob, and here is a 13 is completely show that skin we have provided are going in my code, and output will be same name and age. Okay, so that's it for 2 Studio. Today we'll learn about the function and our domain platform and explore. Here is the positional parameters, default parameters, and the keyword argument. Okay, so I hope you understand this tutorial properly. Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we are going to explore the return values in Python functions. So understanding how to use return value is essential for creating effective and reusable code. So now let's jump right in. Okay, so today first of all let me explain what are return values. Okay, so a return value is the output that a function sends back to the caller when it completes its task. By using this return statement, we can provide a value that can be used later in our program. Okay, so in today, first of all, I'm creating here the simple return value. So here just I'm a simple function that calculates the square of number and return the result. Okay, so now let's get started. So you can see here, first of all, I am declared the function is a date, and the function name I'm creating here is a square. Okay, so now I'm applying the square, and this inside including here the variable is a number. Okay, and also creating this next line using the return statement including this number. And now apply here with 2 multiplication for the 2. Okay, now just I'm calling the function use the result is equal to. So now just I'm calling for the function square and then including the value of a4. Okay, so next one here I'm using simple print function, and here I'm typing the message. So just I'm typing here square of 4 the result. So just in poly, poly is the function of the result. Okay, so this example is the function for squares takes own parameter number and return is square. And when you call the function with the argument 4 and it computes for 4 into 4 and returns for 16, and who is when we print out. Okay, so now let's see the output, and you can see I will just click on here and our result is the square of 4 is 16. Okay, so here is done the symbol of example. Okay, so now just I'm going for another of example, create here. So now I'm creating is return for the multiple values. So you can see just like move to our second example, and here I will create a function that returns is multiple values. This can be done by returning a double. Okay, so now first of all I am a green window part in this output. So here the students example of returning multiple values. First we'll define the functional state and the function's name generate here. So is the get underscore minimum and the maximum function, and in this inside we can include in here the number of the variables of the parameter, and now using again in this return statement. And first of all, I'm creating the minimum function, and this instead of including here. So now here I'm creating this for the number. Okay. And again going for here and including for those numbers, and again using. So now first of all I'm creating this maximum function. Now I'm applying here is a maximum function, again including here this number parameter. Okay, and the next line I'm just calling the function. First of all I'm type for here is the minimum. Secondly here I type for this is a maximum. This equal to creating here is a get minimum maximum function. So now I am including here the value post term type for this 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, then I'm creating here. So just using those print function. First of all I'm printing the minimum value. Okay, so here post term type is minimum. Okay, so minimum value. So just I'm calling for the function is a minimum. Next line, here I'm using another print function, and now I'm including here is the maximum. Okay. And then define for here is appropriate to using the maximum. In this function, if the get minimum maximum, it takes a list of number and return the both the minimum and the maximum value as a tuple. And when we call the function, and we can unpack the return value into two variables like minimum and maximum. And now I'm just running this code and see the output. Okay, so you can see, just simply click on the skin run icon. As you can see here, it's supposed to print a minimum value of 1 and maximum for the 5. Okay, so the experiment is completely working in this example. Now I'm also using this another example for the use return the value in calculations. So finally, just we'll demonstrate for now how to use this return value in calculation and create a function and calculate the area of rectangle. Okay. You can see, just remove for this code again and now create this another code. So now just define this function is there, and we can recreate here is a calculate area, and this instead of including here is a length, and also including here is the width. Okay, and then I'm using here is the return statement and creating this equation length and multiplication for the width. And now just calling the function using the return value. So first of all, I'm going to add here the area to equal to, type here the calculate area for 5 and 3. Okay. And the next line, I'm just using the screen function, and this is a type. First type the mass. So now type area O, the rectangle, and this falling apart here in that area. Okay, so here is the simple example. The function is the calculate area takes two parameters like lean and a wave and region. Their product, and when all the function with the 5 and 3 eyes regions for the 50 and please with the paint and the area of the rectangle. Okay, so let's see the output. As you can see here, the area of rectangular 50 is probably painting. Okay, so now that is for today's tutorial. So today we have learned about how to return value in Python functions, and it covered for how to return a single value, return multiple values using tuple, and use return values in the calculation to make our code more functional. Okay. Hi everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we will be discussing for the scope and global variables in Python. So understanding this concept is vital for managing the variable using visibility and avoiding the unexpected behavior in your code. So now let's just get started. First of all, let me explain here what is the scope. In programming, for the scope refers to the visibility of variable where they can be accessed or the modified. Python has several types of scope like local, enclosing, global, and built. So now a variable is defined inside a function is a local to the functions and the cannot be accessed from outside. And in contrast, the global variable are defined outside function and can be accessed anywhere in the code. So today, first of all, I'm using the example for the global variable within a function. So we can modify a global variable using a global keyword. Okay. So now let's do this example for modifying a global variable. First of all, I'm including here the variable name is the counter is equal to 0. That means it's called the global variable. Now I'm using the function name is a implement. Okay. And then going this line, next line, and here I type for is a global counter. That means is a declared counter as global. Next line, I'm again creating this global and class equal to 1. Okay. And now I'm just calling for here in improve function is 1. Chang. And in the increment function is the second Chang. Okay. Now this is a simply type 4 here and you say this is reading. The output function is a clean function. And here's the title message. So post column title, here is the counter, after is the increment. Okay, so in this increment, the spread is low and I'm just using here the symbol of a counter. Okay, so in this example, perfectly done. And here I'm screening is it global variable? The slightly counter initialize, is it 0? And the site improvement function just to declare is a counter as a global variable using that global keyword and adding us to the modify its value. After calling here is increment choice, the output will be counter after increment is 2. Okay, so now let's see the output here and you can see here there's a big one and here's the proper tissue, the output for the counter after increment of 2. Okay, so I hope you are understanding this simple example. Okay, now I'm using this another example for global variables with function parameters. Okay, so now first of all I'm declare here is a global function. So using this another function, so just remove here and include here is a multiply. Okay, so TPLIER, the multiply is equal to 0 and now I'm using this anchor function using this multiply again. So you can see here the multiply and this inside, in this function inside, I'm including here the value in the parameter. And now I'm using this return statement and including here. So first of all, I'm defining this value and the multiplication sign in this multiplier. Okay, I'm just doing here and then remove for in this 2 line of code. First of all, here I define this is the variable of the result is equal to calling this multiply and the value of a 6. Okay, And also in this next line, I'm using a print function, and then first of all, here I am, define the message. So you can say, type the result of multiplication. Okay, the location, and just calling the variables of the result. Okay, so you can see this example, the student have a global variable, easier multiplier, stage 2. So here, just stage 4 here, is 2, and the function is multiplied takes a parameter for the value of multiply each by the global multiplier, and when just we call the multiplier for the 6 value is written for 10 here is 12, and the output will show the result of multiplication for 12. Okay, so now let's see the output here. So you can see, just click on, as you can see here, is properly show the result of multiplication. Is it real? Okay, so I hope you understand. Okay, now here I'm also using the another example. So now I am creating this local versus global scope. So now let's see the example of the first of them defined here is the global variable. The variable is x equal to t. Secondly, here I'm creating this. The function is t, and then the type here is a local function. Sorry, I'm using this perfectly typed up function, and also in this next line, here I am including for y is equal to 5. That means it's the local variable. And the region states when it including the creations for x plus y. And now I'm using the variable of the result is equal to calling the local function. Now, first I'm using a first print function is a printed the result value. Okay, so just type the result and also including here the result. And next we begin using this print function, and here is the properly printing the global variable. Okay, the global variable for it. Okay, I'm just calling for the function for of the x. Okay, so you can see here it's perfectly printing, and you can use here the type of the local variable, declare the another variable of y. Okay, so now this I'm printing here the main variable and the global variables. Okay, so now just I'm saving this code and click on edit and run icon. As you can see here, the first is printing the result of 15 and the global variable is obtained. Okay, I hope you perfectly understand this tutorial. So tutorial learn about this proof and global variables in Python. So I hope you perfectly understanding these tutorials. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we're going to learn about recursive function. So the recursive is a powerful concept that allows your functions to call itself to solve problems in a unique key. So today first we are going to explain what is recursive function. So a recursive function is a function that calls itself in order to solve problems. Each time it calls itself, it breaks down the problem into smaller sub-problems until it reaches a base case. A condition that stops that recursion. Without a base case, the function could keep calling itself here infinitely and cause an error. So turning first of all, I'm using the example for the factor of number. Okay, so now this example, I'm creating this factorial number n in the product of all the positive integers less than or equal to n. Okay, so now I'm just starting for the example. So first of all, here I am typing the function name state, and the function name I'm creating here, okay, is a factorial. And this, instead of including the number of in, and now first of all here I'm creating the base case if stage A is equal to 1. Okay, now I'm just using here the return stage 3 for 1, and now I'm using there another condition for the else, and using also return stage name. First of all, I'm type the n multiplication, declare the factorial n minus 1. Okay, and then going to the next line, I'm just calling the function. So first of all, here I type the result is equal to, define here the factorial number of a 5, and using this print function and this inside impose this type over, here is a factorial of 5. Okay, and calling the variable is a result, and you can see here the factorial function calls itself within n1 until for reach for 1, which is our best guess. And its recursive call is multiply for n by the result of the factorial for n minus 1. And when just a call the factorial 5, and it's calculate for 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 and giving the total result. Okay, so now let's see the output here, and I can see here the total result for 120. It means it's completely working. Okay, so now just going for this another example for creating this Fibonacci sequence. This is a classical example generating for the Fibonacci sequence. In this sequence, each number is the sum of two preceding forms starting with a 0 and the 1, and the sequence reading is starting with a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 and the 1. And now just mini for in the part. First of all, I'm using the example form is a sequence weight resist regression. And okay, now just the declare for the function is a name. I'm type for, here is a P and C, and this is a set including the number of 8, and I declare the base class for E and is less than equal to 1. Okay, now I'm using the simple operator statement for only n, and now I'm using here is a else block and including here the return statement, and I'm using here is else block and including here the return statement in minus 1 and the plus operator, and declare the Fibonacci for it. Its increment for it for minus 2. Okay, increment is 1, and just go in the next line. I'm just calling the function using the variable of the result to equal to declare this performance for here is a 5. Okay, I'm using the simple of green function and set name. Okay, I am 5 for here. So first of all, I'm typing the Fibonacci number at the position for 5. Okay. And calling for the result variable. Okay, so you can see this example. First of all, this Fibonacci calls itself is a trace once with a minus 1 and once with a minus 2, adding result together. You can see here the base case stop, the recursion went to 10 to 0 or 1. So when we pull the F Fibonacci for the 5, calculate the fifth F number. So now just see the fifth Fibonacci number for 5. Okay, So I hope you understand, and you can see here to apply for a 6 and see the result. Okay, so you can see here it's completely printing the position of 5, and here the which is the value of 8. Okay, I hope you understanding the example here, and you can creating for the another of the important example. So now here I apply for is a different type example for sum of a list. So in this recursion can be used to find the sum of the elements in a list. I will just create a recursive function that adds the first element of the list in the sum of the remaining element. Okay, so now today I'm creating this example. First of all, here I'm using the function is take and then type. Here is the sum list. This insert I'm including here is a symbol of the numbers. Then I'm using this if statement, type the length object and declare the numbers is equal to portal 0 and is the base case. Now I'm using this return statement for 0 and also using this else block and then type the return statement including these numbers using the square brackets inside including the 0 and then type for here the sum list. This inside first including the number and just type for one block. Okay. Now just I'm calling the function and first of all here I am type the variable is a result to equal to type here the sum list and here including for the number of the items. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then I'm using this print function and then I'm just printing this a result. So you can see here is properly printing the sum placed and now the same and let me run this code and as you can see here the result is properly printing the calculated of sum 50. Okay, so I hope you understanding in the simple of tutorials. So now that's it for today tutorial. So today I properly explored the recursive function and how they allowed a function to call itself. These solve problems. Okay, I hope you have proper understanding these tutorials. Hi everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we'll be talking about for all of Python's most versatile data structure list. So list and you store multiple items in a single variables, making it easy to manage collections of data. Okay, so today just go through the basics of list and see the particular example of how to use them. Okay, so now let's get started. So first of all, I'm explaining that is a list. Okay, so first of all, in this Python, a list is an order and the mutable collection that allows us to store multiple values of any type like a teaser, string, plot, and even other list. So lists are defined for using this period bracket and useful and very useful for managing global data. So today you first of creating here and a simple list example in Python. Okay, so first of all here declare this variable name is first is equal to square that and this include here some proofs in a main name. So first of I will apply for a apple type here in the bottom and other food I'm including here is a cherry. Okay. Then I'm using here the print function and in this instance I'm including here this word and you can see in this example I have put a list name for the fruit that contains 3 elements like apple, banana, cherry. And now just print for it in a program and see the result. As you can see here, the perfectly printing. See the all the elements in the list of apple, banana, and cherry. That's going to be simple. Our example is completely done. So now I'm using this another of the example for accessing and modifying list element. Okay, so you can see this list has a 0 index, which means the first item has index of the 0. Okay, so here I'm using this list again applied. So first is printing this original or this fruit list, and next I'm just creating this accessing for this fruit. So using this again is print function, and here I'm typing here the first fruit. Okay, so first fruit, and now here I'm just defined. So first of all I'm calling the pros using the index of the 0. Okay, so now just I'm running this point perfectly, printing the first element of the list, read thumb fruit, this 0, this pretty probably for the apple fruit. So now you can see here the perfectly printing the first fruit. That's when you see the apple. And now just in modifying this in this element, just to go in the next line, and first of all I'm calling these fruits and then the index of 1, and now on index I mean insert the another person is a blueberry. Okay, so here I'm just this blueberry and using this another print function now, hitting this modified list. So you just one, and you can see here motivate the second element from here is a banana and blueberry. Using for here the first one is equal to blueberry in this equation. So now let's save this code and let's see the output. So you can see here it's probably printing the fruit with the first of the apple, second put the blueberry, third picture. That means here's a completely update and see the result. Okay, so next example here I'm printing this adding and removing element. So the lists in Python are dynamic, means we can easily add and remove element as needed. And let's see how to do that with some basic method. Okay, so now first of all I am adding and removing this element, and you can see here it's simply applied using this list. I am again using, and now first of all I'm adding an element. First of all I declare this fruit, apply in this append in the function, and in this inside I am including another fruit named orange. Then I'm using this print function. Now here it is printing after appending in this fruit list. Okay, so now let's see the output. You can see here first of all we properly printing adding for the fruit in orange. That means here this process obtaining already for 3 elements, and then append function just add the orange to the end of the list. Okay, so the next example for removing an element. So now just using this print, this approach, and applying the remove method, and this int I have removed for the fruits. It's a banana. And then using the print function here, I'm start after removing the banana, including those fruits. Okay, so you can see using this remove, just delete this banana from the list. And resulting green list will show the orange added and the banana is removed. Okay, so now let's see the output here. So as you can see here, it is properly removed from in this list the fruit of a bag. Okay, I hope you completely understand. Okay, so now I am using this also. This is another example, different example for slicing a list. So a slicing list will allow us to access a subset of elements from the list. The sliding is particularly useful for retrieving the specific range of data. Okay, so first of all, I'm creating the list. So you find here the number is equal to, now using this square bracket, so now including the sum number of elements 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. And also in the next line, so first of all printing this original list. So I'm just defining this number. Okay, I am just going to save. Just running this code and see. You can see here it is probably printing the all original list of element. Okay, I'm just going to the next line here. I'm printing this slicing of index for 1 to 4. Okay. First of all here I'm trying for is a subset is equal to declare this variable number and using for 1 and clone 5. And just using this another print function, and here I'm printing slice list index 1 to 4. So now just applying the print index symbol of the subset. Okay. Then I'll be saving this code and just emulate me run this code now. And so you can see here the subset is 1 for the value 20 because 0 for 10 and 1 for 20. Okay. So you can see here if it's properly this allows to work with a specific part of list and with this without altering the original list. Okay, you can see the index 1 to 5, 4. The result is 20, 30 and 40 and the 50. Okay, so that's it for today. Tutorials. Today we have treated the basic of list in Python and I hope you got the understanding. This is the simple of tutorials. Hello everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we are going to dive into the another fundamental data structure like tuples. The tuples are similar to list but with one key difference. They are immutable, meaning their value cannot be changed after creation. In this tutorial, this is what makes tuple unique. Explore their properties and go through this example and see them in action. So now let's get started. First of all, let me explain what is tuple. So tuple in Python is an ordered mutable collection that can store multiple items in a single variable. Just like list, tuple can contain certain of data types, including the numbers, strings, tuples. So tuples can be defined by placing value inside these parentheses, separated by commas. Okay. So today, first of all, I'm creating here the simple example of tuple. So first of all, I'm typing here is my underscore is a tuple. Is it again. First of all, I'm applying this parenthesis inside including the fruit in an apple. Secondly, including those fruit is a banana. It is a seminal for the list. Okay, so again the another fruit is a cherry. And now just I'm printing for all the tuples. So declare here is my tuple and you can see this is my tuple contain the 3 elements like apple, banana and the cherry. And when you print this my tuple, it shows all the elements in the tuple. So now just click on this run icon and let's see the output. Here is the perfectly printing this apple, banana and the cherry. Okay. So it's done. The simple example, and now I'm applying for another example for accessing element in tuple. And the tuple using this indexing. So let's see an example. First of all, I'm using those tuple elements. And then first I'm creating the first element. I'm just printing here. So now I am using this print function. So first I'm printing the first tuple, and the line here is my tuple, and I'm using this index of 0, just properly printing this first tuple. So now let's see the output, and you can see here I'm properly printing the first tuple with the apple, and next line here I'm using the another print function. So now printing the last tuple. So first time define this my tuple and index decrement 1, and you can see here first time properly printing the first element which gives for the apple, and the last element with my decrement 1 which gives me for the cherry for the tuple. So 0 based indexing, so works like a list. Okay, so now let's see that for second here the purple painting last element of cherry. Okay, so now this is probably done two examples. Now this is using this another example for tapping unpacking. Okay, so tap is supported, so feature called unpacking with all was to assign this element in a tab to separate. This can be really convenient for working with groups of data. Okay, so now you're just going here, and first of all I'm here is using just remove, or in this 2 line of the code using this for the same tab of 11. So first of all here type 4 is fruit 1, and again creating here is my fruit of 2, then I'm using here is a root of 3. Okay, so if I were to produce 3 to equal to declare here the my tuple, first of all I'm using this print function, and set post is the printing the fruit is a 1. Secondly, using another print function and define here is a fruit of 2. And now I'm using another example. I'm now including here is a fruit of 3. Next, we need in this example use for the tuple unpacking to assign each element of my tuple the individual values for cross 1, 2, and 3 when the print is variable. It displays the corresponding element for the tuple. Okay, so now let's see the output here, and as you can see here it's properly printing fruit for 1 is apple, fruit 2 for banana, and fruit 3 for the cherry. Okay, so you can see here is the example is completely working. So now I'm here also using this another of example for using tuple multiple return value. And we can see single tuple can store multiple items. So we can return a tuple with multiple values from a single function call. Okay, so now today I can see the example. So here I'm using this function is date, and function name creating here is the date underscore is the correspondence, and so this type of coordinates is function. So I'm also including for the x is equal to the value obtained and y variable equal to value of 20. Now I'm using here the return statement including x and the y. So now just I'm calling the function and unpacking the result. So first of all I type here is for the next is equal to define. Here is a get coordinates in this function. First of all I'm printing here is the coordinates. Okay, so here see the result. As you can see here the 10 and the 20, and now I'm using this another equation for x and the y is equal to define. For here is the get coordinate and this function. So now again is in this print function print. First the printing is x coordinate, and secondly print here is using the one I'm printing here is the y coordinates. As you can see the get coordinates function is written a tuple with 2 values x and y, and we call the function and store the result in the variable. The slide here is the coordinates, and this contains for here is the 10 and 20. And we can also unpick the tuple directly into x and y variable and easier access to each coordinates. Okay, so now let's see the output, and we can click in on this again and run icon and see the result. First is the print x coordinate for 10 and the second is y coordinate for 20. Okay, so that's why it's completely done in the tutorial example. So I hope you understand. So today is properly creating this tuple, or immutable data structure in Python that allows us to store audit collection of item. And okay, since to restore properly creating is a perfectly using is capable, I hope you have perfect understanding. Hello everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we'll be exploring all the Python's most powerful data structure like dictionaries. So dictionaries allow you to store data as key value pair, making them extremely useful for working with structured data. Okay, so today I'm creating here the basic of dictionaries. Look at how they are used and forward the example. So now let's get started. First of all, let me explain here what is a dictionary. So a Python is unordered mutable collection that stores data in a key value pair. That means each piece of data is associated with a unique key, making it easy to look up, modify, and manage data. So, dictionaries are defined using curly brackets with a scale value pairs, separated by as a comma. So today, of course, I'm creating here with a simple dictionary example. I hope you understand perfectly. So first of all, I have defined a variable name using its student, and it's equal to here is a curly brackets. Inside first name, I'm creating here the name field. Okay. So now just I'm inserting for the student name is Alicia. Okay. And also just using here the field of age. Okay. So just I'm including the Alicia age is it 21. Then I'm also including here this is a grade. So there's some type of grade of A. So the alphabet character of A. Okay. So you can see here I completely creating and now just using the print function and printing for the student. And you can see here it is simply created dictionary name for the student with 3 key value pair like name, age, and the grade. And its key associated with a specific value like answer. For name, and this is print for student, see all key value pairs. Okay, so now just click on this run icon and see the result. As you can see here, it's perfectly printing name Alicia is 21 and grade of A. Transcript is completely working in a simple dictionary example. So today I'm using another example for this thing and the modifying dictionary. Can the key recheck its as pasted value, and it can also update values for referring to their key? Okay, so now this is starting. So first of all, here I'm printing for the associating. So now just using existing for only the name bill. So using the name student or key developers, use this now. So now in this that only printing for new value. Okay, so now let's save and see the result. So as you can see here, it's perfectly printing only the name is Alicia. Okay, so here I type is again save and then again drawn. And you can see here, this is a probably print the name here. And next I'm using here is a modify a value. Okay, so now just go in the next line and code. Here I'm just remove in this line of code. And first of all, here I'm calling the student and including here the grade. Okay, so just I'm define the grade is equal to, so apply the upgrade and modify the grade is a plus. Now I'm using this print function and this inside I'm printing. So first here this using this student and this inside include here. So first of all I will just double quotation mark and define the grade. Okay, so you can see here I have completely using this example. And here I'm using for a student grade is equal to for a k plus and print the function upgrade for grade for this. Okay, so I have saved this value of the name first. I will show the name and I will skip the exam. Next is modify the grade A to A using the student grade, and this is the way to directly access the upgrade and value in the key. So now this time here is the explore, so just we click on. I can see here it the perfectly show the result of for A. Okay, so I hope you understand this simple of example. Now I am also creating for another example for adding and removing key value pairs. Okay, so here first of all I am printing the original student key value pair list and also update the accessing. And now I'm using this another for example. So you can see first of all here I'm trying to for adding a new key value pairs. Okay, so first of all here I'm just adding this new line and define the student. Okay, and then including for another one. So this is square bracket and here I'm typing this is a measure. Okay, the measure is equal to the subject of a computer science. Okay, so I'm just type for here is a computer science. I'm going this next line and here I'm using the frame function. So this time simply frame is 2 and you can see here properly added new key, the measure with the value of computer sign using this computer. Measure is equal to this computer sign. Okay, so now just save this code and let me run this code. And it says we cancel here, so probably add the measure subject of a computer sign. Okay, is done. Now I'm using this another example for the remove the age by using students. So now removing a key value here. For first of all, I'm time for years and calling the student, and this inside I'm including here. The each variable always each HP value. So I'm using this frame function. I'm here still after removing the age of a student this table. So just saving the code and let me run this code now. So as you can see here, the proper printing for this list inside of each lab. So here modesty of name, grade and the major subject. Okay, sign of understanding this properly, remove this code. So now I'm using this another example for looking for a dictionary. Dictionaries also support the looping, which is helpful when you want to go through a key value pair. So let's take a look at how to loop draw a dictionary. Okay, so you can see here I'm using a loop draw key at the value. First of all, upgrade this volume and the same that I'm celebrating. Here is a key when also including here, and value is the student. 2 is the type of the item. Okay, and using the simple offering function, and now I'm apply here to a out. So those things are including the key value, which is now just including the here the simple value. Okay, so here properly using this follow, which is a student item to go through its value pairs by printing key and the value. And you can see the pure of dictionary. This is of course is very useful for examining purpose in this item in a dictionary. Okay, so now just I'm saving this part and click run on the icon. So as you can see here, it's perfectly printing the student name Alicia and the age is 21 and the grade is game. Okay, so that's why this is the dictionary is important. So now that's it for the tutorial. So today we will learn about dictionaries in Python. So I hope you perfectly understand this tutorial. Hello everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we're going to explore set in Python, a unique data structure known for sorting unordered unique elements. So set is perfect when you need to handle collection with no duplicate value and perform operation like union and the distraction. So let's get started today. First of all, I'm going to explain what is a set. So in Python, a set is an unordered collection of unique items. Sets don't allow for duplicates, so every element is distinct. The set is defined using curly brackets or with the set function for empty set. Okay, so today, first I'm using here the simple example of the set. So now I'm type for here my state is equal to using the element of it, number of elements. So first I am typing is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So now just print for here is this my state. Okay. So here is contain is 5 unique number. When you print for the item might appear in order because states are unordered. And we will notice that even if you define the element in a certain order, so the state does not reserve it. Okay, so let's see the output. So as you can see here, it probably printing the simple state for 5 is because it's printing for here is the original state line. Okay, so we have done this simple example. So now also I'm using this here is another advanced topic for adding and removing item, and you can add and remove items. So let's see how it works. Okay, so now here I'm using this another value, so remove this one and just I'm only using here is another of elements for 1, 2 and 3, and you can see here first of all I'm printing this original value. This is an example to show the output and just adding an element. So first I'm defining here is a my C and scan this add method. So now I'm add for the value of A4 and I'm just using this print function and here is after adding for and just only type in the mindset see the result. Okay, you can see here it is properly add for the value of A for the next step here. I'm just removing an element, so you can see just doing this next line. First I'm creating this equation, so my seed dot is type for is a discard of the value of a 2. I'm using it in this print function and here is after regarding this 2 and calling again this mindset. As you can see, first of all I'm using this mindset as a port head of element port, then using for my set to discard is store in the remove the 2 and using discard is a save because it does not throw an error if that element doesn't exist, unlike a remove with print. Okay, so now let's see the output and you can see here is properly removed for individual list the number of element of the 2. Okay, so here is done this example. Now I'm using another example for the state operation like union and interaction, and you can see which are bridge for combining or finding common element between state. So now let's go over the operation. Okay, so you can see first of all I'm creating those 2 state. So first of all is state A is equal to, so including for the value 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and next state I'm creating is another state of A is equal to including this another number of elements for 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so first I'm just creating this example of union of sets. So just type for union as for the set is equal to. So first I type here the set A and an OR operator and declare here set B. Now just using this print function, print for the union set, I'm just printing for in this output. So you can see here it's probably printing for the list of the combine of on the list for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so here is a example is done. So now I'm using another example for intersection of set. Okay, so now first of all I type here is the intersection, and let's suppose the state is equal to. Define here, first of all, type here the state of A using AND operator, and also include here the set of B. And now we will use another print function line type for the intersection set, and we can see this example. First of all, I'm applying this OR sign union of A and B, which combine all the unique element from both sides, and then using for this and sign for the intersection, which only includes elements that are in both city and C2, C2P. Okay, now let's save and see the results. So as you can see here is a unique element for 3 and 4. That's when it makes it easy to perfect set operation with just a few lines of code. Okay, so in this example is done. So now here is a example. I'm using another example for checking for subset and the superset. Okay, so now let's create another example. So you can see I'm just reading the part in this all form up. So first of all, I'm here type for a small underscore state. The variable is equal to, including the variable of only 1 and 2. And another type for here is a large state is equal to. So now including for another number is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay. And now just I'm checking if the small set is subset or a large set. Okay. So first of all, I'm typing for is underscore this call here is a subset. First of all, I'm defining a small set dot notation and then type is subset this function. Insert including here is a large set, and now using the print function, and now here am I printing for only that each subset. Okay, so now let's see how the course. You can see just click on, you can see here is condition each is true. Okay, the next step here I'm using for checking if large set is a superset of all set. Okay, so now just I'm creating for each underscore is a superset. Okay, so just untype the subset. If we want to first of all declare the large set, we have to type this superset and this insert including here the small set. So now we give this again another print function, and now print for is a large set, a superset of a small set. So it's using this is a superset. Okay, so now let's just save this code, and just you can see here is two action is properly shared, and I can see similarly a superset is compound. That nurse set is superset of the small state. Okay, I have your understanding. This is two perfectly done. Here I'm completely working in those stairs, and I hope you perfectly understand. Okay. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we are going to further stream manipulation in Python. Okay, so today in this tutorial I'm using for the once more example. I hope you perfectly understand me, and let's get started. First of all, let me explain what is string manipulation. In Python, strings are sequence of characters and they are immutable, meaning of a string is created. Hence, it can be changed, but don't worry, it can still perform a variety of operations. So, on them to transform and extract data. So now let's start with our first example, slicing a string. Okay. In this step, extract this part of the string and let's say we want to take a portion of the string by specifying a start and end position. So here how it works. So first I'm using the symbol of message for string slicing example in the text is equal to. So first of all, here I am taking the message for hello Python. Okay, so just type for here is a hello Python and then now so starting this hello, so using this print function and first of all here I'm using the first word define this text and I am using these square brackets and just type the 0 and clone 5. Okay, here is done and then saving this code and let me run this code now and as you can see here the first extracting word for here is a hub. So now I'm using this another one for the extracting for the platform. So again using this another green function and then type for the text and also using a square brackets and this hyper here is 7 John 30. Okay, so now just in again see you can see this example for is a text containing for hello Python and uses lighting to get the word hello by specifying text 0 and clone 5 which take the character from position 0 up to but not including this position 5.13 exact in the Python. So this is the great way to handle only specific part of your script. Okay, so now let's see the second example. I will put, so you can see here is perfectly printing the Python and you can see here is completely working in this extract Python. Okay, so here is the sliding this example. Now I'm using this another example for common testing method like upper, lower and replace this method. Okay, so it is a common method for the Python programming language. Okay, so now I'm using this apply for the change. This case now I'm using the test is equal to hello Python world. Okay, so just in time for here in the world and first of all I'm just convert for the text to uppercase. So here the hyper is uppercase and for the case is equal to. So you can see here the hyper is uppercase equal to define the symbol of the text dot notation using this supercase method and now just using this print function and here I'm hyper the uppercase and apply for direct this function is uppercase and now just save and let me run this code and as you can see here all the letter is printing for the uppercase letter for hello Python board. Okay, it's done. So now I'll just go to the next topic. Now I'll convert for the masculine text for lowercase. So just here I'm using the lower for in this case is the vowel. So first of all I'm using the text. I do this hyper here is a lowercase and using the split function here and declares those function is a lowercase. So now just save this for and you can just click on and you can see here all the letter is printing the lowercase. That means in this example the properly used uppercase to convert to uppercase. The lower to make the lowercase and is also now using here the replace method. Okay, so here first of all I'm type for this replaced and this for this is text is equal to declare, the symbol of text, dot is defined, display replaced. In this, infer using another text. So first of all, I'm using this common is a Python. So also I am including, sorry, it's not here, including another word. Same programming, okay? So now just type here is a programmer and then using a print function, and just you can write for the method replace, take then calling the function or the method. So now directly apply this replace, takes these variables. Okay, so you can see here this replace to change this Python to programming, and this method makes it easy to transform the stream based on requirement of your program. Okay, so now just save this code and just let me run this code, and you can see here is a proper printing for hello programming. World is perfectly fine. Now to programming, okay, so here is completely done in this simple example. Now we are using this another example for is a string for meeting with f string. The string for meeting allow us to create a string with dynamic content like inserting variable directly into a string. Also, the most modern way to do this in Python is with the string introduced in Python. Okay, so now just apply for the string for meeting with f string, declare the person name is Alice. Okay. Next I'm using for the Alice is a party, and also define for the Alice city name apply is a Newark. Okay, and then going this next line, I'm just using this f string to format the text. So possible neuron type for this formatted text is equal to declare for it is, sorry, I'm just perfectly spelling mistake, is a formative for this term. And then using this instance that I'm typing here, it is my name is, using this curly bracket, this instance I'm including here, this is the name field. And now just to complete write this in sentence, of course the comma type word here is I am, and again I'm spelling this the curly brackets, the instance of including this speech, and here is the type for a year vote. And also the type for here is an, I believe, in the city. So just using the define the, and you can see here is a completely done with this one, and just including the skin function. Here I'm printing, here is a formatted, and you can see this example for the value of name, age, and the city directly into our string. All you need to do is prefix the string with an if and use curly brackets around the variable. Okay, so now let's save this code and let me run this code. So as you can see here, the sentence for my name is Alice and I am 30 years old and I live in Newark. Okay, so here is the clean and readable way to build dynamic string. So that's it for today's tutorial. So children properly covered the string manipulation is Python. It is an essential Python for handling case data. So I hope you perfectly understand this tutorial. Hello everyone and welcome back to our Python programming series. So today we're going to talk about for importing modules in Python. So modules are pre-written code file that allow you to access additional functionality without having to write everything from the scratch. So by the end of this tutorial, you will know how to import and use this module. Okay, so now let's get started. So first of all, let me explain what is a module and what is here. In Python, a module is a simple a file is containing this Python code Modules can include functions, classes, variables that we can use to access different processes. Importing this module helps you save time and keep your code organized. For instance, Python. Stand-up library has many built-in modules like math, data types, and the random, and we shall explore this today, and we'll see how to import and use a module. So first of all, I'm using this example for the basic important for the math module. So in this Python's just building the math model, this model contains those various mathematical functions and constant, making it handy for calculation. So firstly, using the symbol of important, for here is the math. Okay, so I'm just creating this math function. First of all, we're just using this print function, and here the type for is a square. Okay, so square root of that 16. Okay, then using here is a math type for is a sqrt, and the insert including for the value of a 16. Then I'm using the another print function. Here I've typed for the value of pi value. Okay, and the inserted square root of whoever I'm type is math. So do notation is a type. And you can see this example used for the course is important math to bring it all in the functions and constant from the math model, and then used for here the math dot square to find the square of root of 16, and the math is 5, which says the value of 4. And notice how we use the module name tag followed by the dot notation to access the function and the constant. Okay, so let's save this code and let me run this code now. So we can see here this is 16 for 0.0, the value by the 3.14159. Okay, so here are the tools to draw this example out. Okay, so now I'm using this also for another example for importing for a specific function like the random module. Sometimes you don't need to an entire module and only one to import specific function. It helps keeps your code clean, module, and see how to import only the functions we need. Okay, so now here I'm just removing for in the all in this for, and here I'm simply importing for the specific functions from the random module. So you can see here, first of all, I'm going to type the prompt. Let's type the random, and also here is import for this irradiant, and also for the invisible choice. Now just generating a random in a teaser and a random choice from your list. So you can see here on the type skin part, here you type a random teaser between 1 and 2, 0. So just type 4 and teaser 1 for 13. Okay, so just using here is radiant, and those things are including for the value is 1 and 10. Okay, the next line here I'm using for another print function, and this insert including here the random choice from only type is a list, and then I'm just typing here in the symbol of the choice, and then including here the sum of codes. First of all, I'm using this first brackets and also using the period brackets. So here I'm including for the floats in orange, then apply for another floats is a mango, and also inserted for the floats is an apple. Okay, so you can see here the provenant inserted. So, and you can see here it will go the radian choice in import only the radian choice function from the random module, and this allows us to use the radiant and the choice directly without the random prefix, making the code appear more readable, and use the radiant for 1 and 10 to generate random numbers between 1 to 10, and choose function to select random item from a list. Okay, so here is completing this code, and it perfectly am applying for either CML importing for in this topic this function, and now just I'm saving this code and let me run this code now, and I can see here it's perfectly printing the output supposed to be print 1 and to 10 for the tree. It's radiant, and also the choice for the list is Marco. Okay, I hope you here understanding this simple example and hearing is completely working. And this tutorial properly I'm importing for modules in Python allow you to bring additional functionality and keep your code organized. Okay, so I hope you perfectly understanding this tutorial. Hello everyone, and welcome back to today's another tutorial topic. So today I'm starting for the Python programming series. So today we're going to learn how to create our own models in Python. The custom model allows you to organize your code, refuse and access this multiple project, and keep your program clean and manageable. So, today we're starting with Python module. So first of all, let me explain what is a Python module. In Python, a module is simply a file that contains Python code, and this code can include function, classes, or variables, and it's a great way to organize your work. Once you created a module, can import it into another script and reuse the code whenever you need it. So now let's walk through the process within our first example. Okay, so first of all, here I'm creating this another new file and just clicking for in this term Python, and just also click for here is a Python file. Okay, so now here I'm just type for the Python file, name is my math, and using dot notation extension for the file. Okay, and then paste, and you can see here completely done. And now is this inside, I'm just creating a sample model that define a couple of basic function, and I'm creating a new file, and here just add a function for addition and subtractions. Okay, so here first column type to state, and using this action function and declared a variable of a and b. Using here the return statement for a, an additional operator for b barrier, and now the taking type of another one is subtract, and including for a variable of a and b. So now using here the return statement for a and subtraction for the b variable. Okay, so here is perfectly done. I'm just going for here is the main file, insert here. So I'm just importing for a custom model. First of all, I'm trying to import the my math. Okay, so I'm using this function for the my math. So first of all, using the print function, and here I'm typing for sh addition. Okay, so first of all, I'm calling here my math notation for add and including for the value of 5 and 3. Secondly, I'm adding using another print function, and now I'm printing message is a subtraction, and using here is a mind math. So do type 4 here and subtract 4, 5 and here 3. Okay, so you can see here is down. Now I'm just perfectly creating, and I can see here is the pretty 5 is my method Python. And with the two function for you can see add and the subtraction. And in our index, the main file is use this import this mymat to import the module to access the function with this mymat add and mymat.subtraction. This keeps our main script clean and allows us to reuse and add and the subtraction function in other project. Okay. So now just let me run this code now. First of all, I'm saving the code and also just run this function. Here it is saved and just simply if I'm using this run icon. So as you can see here, first printing the addition and additional result for 8 and the subtraction for 2. That means it's completely working the function. So now the next complete here, I'm creating the importing the specific function from a custom module. If you only need specific functions from a module, you can import from them directly instead of importing the entire module. This can help make your code more usable and efficient. Let's modify this example. This previous example, okay. So you can see first I'm using here. So just I have removed this and here I'm type for this if problem is my math and typer here as import is add and also for the subtract. Okay, and using this imported function, so first of all the add is shown and just to only define using this add function and is insert including the value. So first time including the value is a pin and second time including the port system making using this one. So apply for, to remove this again, apply for this variable value scale and the y is 4. Okay, so this example used for first from my math input for add and the subtract to import only the subject function directly and don't need to use a mine. So P can make your code cleaner, especially if you are using only module. Okay. So now just I'm saving this code and click on the run icon. So I can see here first you will print the additional result 14 and subtract for the 6. Okay, it's done with a simple example. Now here I'm using another example for Alice with custom module. Sometimes modules or function name can be long. So Python allow us to use elif. So let's see how you can give our module and replace it, make it shorter. So you can see this rainbow. First of all, here I'm typer for this encode in my might as for me. Okay. Then I will just using the function. So first of all, I'm type for my dot notation subtraction for 7 and 2. Okay. And understand using here the M notation, the subtract for again, including here. The value is 7 and so this example used for in the code for my math as in to give her the model and analyze for the hook in now state of. So typing for here is in my math addition means for the my math. Every time we just use for this. Analyzing this is especially helpful if you have modules with longer names. Okay. And or if you are working with multiple modules that have the similar names. Okay. So now just I'm saving this code and just let us run this code. And as you can see here, first I'm printing the additional result for 9 and subtraction for the 5. I hope you understand this example. So that's it for tutor today. So perfectly creating your own model in a great way to organize and use code in Python. So I hope you're perfectly understanding the tutor tool. Hello everyone and welcome back to our today's Python programming series. So today we are doing intro this Python's building in module. So Python comes with several powerful modules that you want, and you can use this right out of the box to perform this complex task with easy. So today I'm creating an example for commonly used the modules like math, random, and datetime. Okay, so now let's get started. First of all, let me explain what are the built-in modules. Say, built-in modules are the pre-made library in Python standard library, which means you don't have to install any theme extra to use it. This module has covered a wide range of functions for mathematical calculations to data and time handling. Now let us start with this first example using for the math module. Okay, so first of all, here I'm talking about the important is the math. Okay, then calculating the square root and the power of, first of all, here I will call the square underscore. So SQARU. Okay, it's correct. And then type this root is equal to, declare the math, and let's type for SQRT, and there is the same setting. Including the value is a 25, and also type over here the power is equal to, declaring this math module, and type over here is a power. And now including this value is 34, and now also here the type over here is a pi value. If you want to define for here is a math dot is a pi function. Okay, it is done. And now just using this print function, first of all I'm printing the square root of 25 is square root. Secondly, I'm printing for here using this print function. So now I'm printing for 3 raised of power of 4, and just only this type of the power, and using this another print function. Now I'm printing here the value of pi is including here is the pi value. Okay, so here is this example used for, here is the math security to get the square root of 25, and math pi function is calculate 3 raised to the power of 4 and math pi save the constants 5. And the math model is the great tool for performing various mathematical operations without guide functions yourself. So now just saving this code, and let me on the code, and I can see the post printing out the square root of 25 who 5, and the 3 days to power of 4 is 4. Okay, and the pi value is 3414159. Okay, so here is the property working in this math module. Next, I'm using this another module for the random module. So now we explore the random module, which is perfect for generating random numbers for making random choice. This is especially useful in game simulating and testing. So let's try a couple of random operations. Okay, so first of all, here I'm streaming for in this all fourth, first in fourth, 4 here is in random, and I'll just generate a random inches and make random choice from list. So first of all, the type 4 here, and the random 4 is a chooser, type is equal to define this random, and then type 4 here is the random. Okay, now including for the value is 1 and 100, and undertaking using port is a random, is a choice is equal. So declare this random dot using individual choice, and now including here this and this bracket, and now insert it for the color, and next time add for here it is be green, and also add here it is be blue. Okay, and now I'm using this print function. So first of all, I am print here is the random integer between 1 and 10. So just type the random int, and next I'm printing here the random using this print function and type the random color choice and using the random choice. Okay. You can see here this example is done, and you can see here the random 1 and get 10 to generate. Random 10, 1 and 100, the random choice to randomly pick an item from the list of color. Okay, so now just save this code again and just let me run this code now. As you can see here, first is printing for the random integer 431 and the random choice for our color is in blue. Okay, in this function is made easy to add randomness in your Python program. Okay, so now just going with another important example tutor topic for date time module. So now to them cover a date time model uses essential handling dates and times in Python. So this model can reach at the current date and time for me dates and calculate time difference. Okay, so first of all here code for here is a date time. So just in date, current date, so the type. So as now the same type of here is current underscore is a date time is equal to type for here is a date time. Now dot notation is also for the date time, dot is type for here. So now this function and next thing using here just in kind of performing the state. So first of all VRM type for is a format, and for the date is now just type for the current date time. Now type for here the 3 of f time, and now just inform here is defined. So first of all creating a double icon in the first defined here is the model. One is year and the module for I am 4 month. And again apply, sorry, I just, okay. The perfect, I'm using this model default date. And also here, I'm using for the time, second, okay, hour, minute, and the second. So first of all, here I'm using for hour, for age, and for minute. And also here is a module for that for second. Okay, it's done. And then I'm going for the next one, and here I'm using this print function. First of all I'm printing for current date, and here I'm suggesting calling for the function, and I'm using another print function formatted suggested date format date. Okay, I can see here the perfect key is in date time, and here I'm doing the format year, month, day, hours, minute, and second. And the date time model is incredibly useful for managing dates and times in applications. So now just saving this code and let me run this code, and I can see here, you can see the current date and the current time. And here is also, you can see the current date month. It's supposed to be the current year, month, and the day. And you can see here is also for this hour, month, and the second. So I hope you understanding those two distributors and are perfectly working. And Spacebus building module can save you a lot of time by providing ready-made functionality. So I hope you perfectly understanding those two distributors. Hi everyone, and welcome back to our today's Python programming series. So today we are diving into all of the 4 concepts of object-oriented programming, classes and object. So learning how to work with classes and object will help you create a structured, reusable code in Python. So now let's get started. First of all, I'm going to explain what are classes and the object. So first let's clarify with the classes and the object are a class. Event like the blueprint or create an object. Think of it as a recap with the object created. From here, the blueprint are like the thesis made using the recipe and update design instance of a class containing attributes and method that belongs to the class. So today, first of all, I'm using a simple class and creating an object example. And here is a properly created class called like a car with attributes to hold information about cars. Make the model. Okay, so first of all, I'm define here the car class. So first of all, I just last name and I'm clear. Here is the next line here. I define the function including here is a init. So inside I apply using these two attributes. First of here attribute and then for you the model at. And the next slide here defined for already type the model is equal to the model. Next line I am Mr. Polo for English row. So just I'm using this type for here is a make to equal to and appropriately type this make. Okay. The next time proper create an instance of the car class. So first of all here I am including the object is my car, okay, and is equal to poly for the symbol of car. And now I'm just inserted for the car information. The first time type for the car information is a Toyota, is a common brand, the most common, and then just okay. Just apply in this car model. So you can see here I defined, you can see I'm mistakenly created. First I'm creating this car, make, and the second apply car model. So again, I hope you understand. Okay, so now one is defined is a follower. Okay, just define here perfectly. Just run this next line. I can see using this print function. First of all, we train for this is a car make. Okay, so just to define for here is a car model and a post of all apply. Okay, so car model and okay, sorry, just one type here is a car make and including here and just a space of poster poly is a maker. So now just I have changed you and I have property type. So you can see here the typer is a car make. And again include here is a name, and secondly I will define here for here is a self job is a model is equal to again including here is a model. Okay, so now it's perfect. And then first of all I'm calling for here is a car make, and the second line using again this main function. So I'm trying for the purpose for it is a car model. And then calling for this function, first of all call the object is as a micro, dog is defined for here is a model. Okay, now just saving this correct, and here is a perfectly defined car class with as init method, which is called when creating an object, and this method set the make and the model attributes of the car, and then we create an instance called here is a macro, which is mixture and the model for the Corolla, and we can access the attributes using this properly. In this the dot notion like micro dot make the micro dot. Okay, so now let's see the output here. Just click on this one, and as you can see here is first is printing the make. This car make for the Toyota and the model for the Perla. Okay, so I hope you proper understand this simple example. So now we're going for the next step. Here I am using this another example for adding methods to a class. Okay, so add some functionality to our class by adding a method. And a method is a function defined inside a class that operate on the object data. You can see here, just add a display information method to show the car's data. You can see here, I'm just using this another line and add for this attribute, this one. Okay. And first of all, just in this line here, I'm just remove. Okay. So next I'm going to remove. So also for here, I'm add this another function is div, and then type here is a display information. Okay. And this insert including this type here is serve. And here I'm using this print function, and first of all I am typer this double quotation and including here. So please start is in. Okay. Now I apply for here is a curly bracket, and this instead of including here self dot is type for the method is a make this attribute, and again apply for here this is a self dot apply for here is a model. Okay, so here is the line almost at complete, and now just going here in this two line, just currently ring. Okay, and here I'm just creating. First of all, I'm calling for this object my curve. My curve is defined. For here is a display information this way. Okay, so here you can see this properly added a display to method to the curve class, which prints out the curve details in formatted string. And register call is macro for display information, and display the curve is a total call. And this method is like this and make this easy to work with the display object data. Okay, so first of all I'm saving this code and just let this run code, and then as you can see here is I'm couple of painting the same thing for the card is total call, and here is the 2D tutor completely done today. We'll learn how to create a simple class, you find attributes and methods. Okay, so I hope you perfectly understanding this 2D tutor. Hi everyone, and welcome back to our today's tutorial. So today we explore a fundamental concept of our J20 programming like inheritance. So inheritance allows us to create a new class based on existing one, making it easier to use and extend our code. And just we'll go through this example to see how inheritance works in Python. So now let's get started. First of all, let me explain what is inheritance. Okay, so inheritance is a way to create a new class that inherits attribute and the method from an existing class. An existing class is called the parent class or the base class, while the new class is known as the child class or a subclass. And this helps us avoid duplicate code as the child class automatically comes and the functionality of the parent class. Okay, so today first of all I'm creating here the basic inheritance with the parent class and the child class. Okay, so first of all here I'm creating classes that helps the parent class and child class called the child, and then inherit from the vehicle. The classes will have a method to display information about the vehicles. Okay, so first we define here the part class. So you can just going for here is the class name is the vehicle, and go in this maxman, and here I type the symbol date and time using for the double dash init in this method. So now here I'm again including those two attributes. So the first we have to make, the secondly including here the model. Okay, And now I'm just defining for this self stack and make is equal to init attribute. Secondly, the same process is a model is equal to define the simple of model. And now here I'm at the 4 is another one. So just to type 4 here is a div. The fun including here is a display, and this 4 is a information, and this inside of including here is a cell, and using 4 here will properly introduce the print function. Okay, and in this inside I'm including here. So first of all apply this. This is the format output using these double quotations, and here I'm typing for this vehicle. Okay, and the script known. The first of all here I will calling for the is a self. This type for here to make this attribute, and again type for this is curly brackets define for self. Notation is type for here is the model. Okay, then going to the next line here, the define the child class. So creating this another class name apply for here, does it can okay. And in this inside I probably include here is a, so you can see here the first of all using this first capital letter. Okay, then this is now is a correct, and this inside again including here is a this right now. Okay, and also in this line on here apply this inside everything from the vehicle using the past parameter. So now I have created an object of the class, and first of all I'm creating this my card, and it will to define for here is a car and this setting including here. So first of all I'm using the products. Our mix is a Honda, and the model I'm using here is properly. Type this is Sprint. Okay, and also in this line here I'm defining for the object is a marker. Dot is type here the display information. Okay, in this code in completely done on here I'm just apply and define first of all vehicles a class with an attribute like make the model and a method for the display information, and then paragraph init with from the vehicles. So it automatically keeps the make the model and also for the display information method. And when it's create object 1, there is a micro and call for the micro do notification for the display information. Is it spin for the vehicles for this the Honda and the 7. Okay, so just verify the output and tape this green. As you can see here is the vehicle path and the end statement. Okay, so I hope you will understand this simple of example, and next topic here I'm using another example for adding the method to Carty class. Now let's extend the class car class by adding the method unique to it. First of all we'll add a straight engine method in the car class, and which does not exist in the vehicle class. Okay, so just going this next line, and here I'm just including for is another one. Sorry, it's not here. First of all, going in this line here, and this type for another functional state, and then for this completely applied to the start underscore is a in J. Okay, I'm going this next line, and here I'm using this another print function, and first of all here I'm again using for a formatted. First I'm using the sentence for the, and in the instance I'm encoding for self. This type for here is a mate. Okay, and again calling for this curly brackets and define for self is type the model, just using for add for s, and is type for easy. Okay, engine has started. Okay, so you can see here it started and it's done. I'm just going to create a car object, and we can use for the both models supposed to be using this project is my car is car, and then we'll be do this information, and it's the other one to supply. So you can see here I'm using is a my car dot apply here to start engine. Okay, so you can see in this code, the first of all edit a start engine method in the car class, which allows us to print a message indicating the car engine has started. When create a car object, for my car object tab, it calls both for the display information from the parent class and the start engine from the car class. Okay, so now just show here the output, and now just saving the code and clicking this run icon. So as you can see here is a full sentence of Honda's engine has started. So I hope you understand this simple example and are imperfectly applied. Okay, so here is for the tools tutorials that could properly working for this inheritance. And Indian inheritance in Python allows us to create child class that inherit method and attributes from the parent class. Okay, so this helps us organize the regex code effectively. So I hope you are perfectly understand the tutorials. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our today's another tutorial. So today we are diving into polymorphism in object-oriented programming. So polymorphism is an essential concept that allows objects of different classes to be treated as an object of a common subclass. Okay, so now here is a plain and simple implementation of the polymorphism. So now let's get started. First of all, I am explaining what is polymorphism. So polymorphism means many forms, and in the programming it allows us to use a single interface or functions to operate or different type of object. And in polymorphism can be implemented in several ways, including method overriding by using this function that work with my object tag that has a specific method or attribute. So today I'm simply implementing for the polymorphism with method overriding. Okay, so here I'm using this. First is create to parent class called the animal with a method for the spread, and also for the to child class like dog and cat. And also we'll be override this pick method in the own way. Okay, so now let's get started. First of all, here I define the parent class name is an animal. Okay, then I will just get function is a pick method, and this insert including here the symbol of green function, and type the message. First of all, here I'm type that animal makes a cow. Okay, if done, I'm just okay. I'm just going into the next line, and here I will define the child plus that override this big network. So you can see, first of all, I'm talking the class name is a dog, and also this inside I'm including here is the animal, and just going here the including for the date, and then properly using this speak method. Okay, and here I'm just type the simple of the print function. I type the method. So you can see here I'm just using this sound to tone. Okay, so now you can again type this sound tone. Okay, and also in the next line here I'm using for the simple of another class, and the last name I will create here is cat, and the internal is including here then the animal class. Okay. And using this function of data and also apply the same method for the speak method. And this next line here, I'm using a simpler print function and printing for the cat sound tone. Okay, so first of all, okay, sorry, just again, okay. So here in this inside, I am just creating this cat sound. So first of all, type this in this sound and again apply for this sound. Okay. So here's perfect one. I'm just going to the next line and here I create object of the dog and cat and call it is a speak method. Okay. So here, first of all, I'm creating this object name is the animal is equal to define. So first of all, I'm type for here is a dog method. And again apply for here is a cat method. In this class, this function, okay. Also in the next line, here I'm applying something simple for the loop. Okay. So this is creating this animal in the animal. Okay. The first of all, I'm typing animal is type or here I just pick method. Okay. So you can see here in this example, for both, for the dog and the cat, the class inherit from the animal class but override for the speaker. And when you create an instance of the dog and the cat and call for here to speak on is, this responds their own way. First of all, print for the dog sound this tone and for the another one is the cat sound. And this is polymer prism is as shown in this quick method behavior differently based on the object type. Okay, so here you properly creating this simple implementation of polymorphism and now let's see the output. Just click on and you can see here, first of all print this dog sound and the sound tone and have some term. So I hope you understand this today's simple example and here I am properly using this polymorphism and it is allows us to work with different object type throw in the shared in the interface. Okay, so I hope you properly understanding this today tutorials. Hi everyone and welcome back to our today's another tutorial topic. So today I'm covered for the fundamental concept in programming like reading and the writing file in Python. So file handling allows us to work with file like reading from them, writing data into them. And today I'm creating this basic and I hope you perfectly and comfortably understand this using this Python. So first of all, we explain overview of the file handling in Python. So Python provides several built-in functions to work with files such as open function and this method which let us access files in different modes. And the most common modes are reading, developing and writing and A for appending. And to make sure the file choose properly, we can access user write with statement with automatically choose now. File after use the let's jump for the first example reading data from the text file. Okay, so here I'm just creating this reading from a file. This create a simple file called for the example.txt with some text in the read contained by the line. Okay, so now just simple dot type is read and apply for it in the main method and now here I'm including for the file name. So just a typer is an example dot the txt file. So okay, so just is not correct. Use example dot notation and the text. And also when I'm creating a write mode and defined for as a file. Okay, And also in the next line, and here I'm defining for the symbol of 4 label for 9 in the file. Okay, I'm using this brain function, and apply is a line, and then type 4 here is 3. Okay, this is a function. Is tip means is remove extra newland characters. Okay, so you are in the simple example. Just open for your simple for XAE exam. Okay, the example that text is read mode are using here is a form block or read this line, and this strip is used to remove any external newland characters. These points leave clean. I am dealing straightforward and using this weak paw open. Make sure the file is automatically closed after it's ready. Okay, so now just I'm typing to the run this code and just copy this one, and you can see here it is not correct because they are probably not defined. Okay, so it's done. Now next step, going for the next tutorial for writing to a file. So let's see how to write data to a file, and this example is create a file called output.txt and write a few lines to it. Writing it to a file can be useful when you want to store for log information. Okay, so we just again creating this write to a file. So again using this read and also type for the scope in this method for the insert. I am including here is another example fixed in the file is output the txt file, and now I'm creating here is the write smooth f5 as a file. Okay, so now I'm including first of all type of file, and now again type for here is the write and this inside and type the message. So first of all here I am type for this the first line. Okay, now I apply for the line. I'm going this next line and again type for here the file dot is again the style file right in this inside including for the message for, and share is the second line. Okay, so you can see understand this time for here is the second line also creating this new one. So you can see this example for output taste with the write mode using for here is the write method, and add for 2 lines to the file is line 8 with a new line to create a new line. Now note that using the 4 years of development mode will overwrite an existing content in the file. So be careful file that contains in 14 data. Okay, so now systems haven't these 4 and just click on English run. So just wait and see. The reason you can see here perfectly working, just going inside, and I'm hoping for here is just going to choose for the output. Okay, so just example is not now. I'm just creating this output file and then apply for English code. Okay, so now in this tutorial is completely working because here is not sure for the and just error. Okay, I hope you're understanding this tutorial. So today I am properly create the basic of file handling in Python. So just we saw how to read from a file line by line and how to write new data to a file. I hope you got a better understanding of the file handling topic. Hi everyone, and welcome back to our today's Python programming series. So today we will learn about file modes in Python. So file modes like read, write and append. So let us control how we can interact with file understanding this mode in cursor. for the file handling in Python. So today, first of all, I will explain the overview of file modes in Python. In Python, when you open a file and need to specify a mode that tells Python how to handle the file, three main modes are for R for reading and blue for writing and A for appending. And today I'm first using this example of reading files. So first of all, R mode is used to read a file is default mode. So you can just, if you open a file without specifying a mode, it open in read mode. So now let's try a file called a sample dot the text file inside. Okay, so first of all, I'm applying using this read and using this open. I'm just green removed and including for the double photo shows. Here I'm type for the file name is a sample fixed file. Okay. And now I'm creating the file in the right mode as a file. Okay. I'm just going this next line and here I type for this being contained to is equal to define for the file log is type for here is a read mode. I'm using this a print function and probably printing for this context. So you can see here in this content inside, I'm just creating this no data, no text, and you can simply printing but not show for the output. And you can see just open this simple that takes in the read mode and the file read function needs the read. The intent content we can see is print. Remember for the write mode will throw an error will the file not exist. Okay, so now this is already explained here. So this is a deal going to just extending and reading the data without modifying it. Okay, so I hope you understand it's simple of reading data. So next topic for writing a file for the RMW. So let's look for the write mode. For the W mode allows us to write new data to a file. Be careful to its overwriting or existing content if the file does not exist and create a new one. So let's write some data to a file name for the text. And after all, I remove for this one. Okay, so here I'm just including 4 is a simple and wait and time for open, and now here I'm using for a sample file or increase the text. Okay, and now you're creating a sample of writing and including for as a file. Okay, so next line here I'm defined for is a 5 dot style. Here is the write mode and this inside including for the message. So first of all, I type this is a new line of page. Oh. Okay. And then going this next line and here I'm using a apply is a 5 dot style. For here is the write mode and including for. First of all, here the cipher is overwriting and existing content. Okay, so you can see here there's properly using this and here. Just open for here the output txt in the write mode. Use for the file dot the write mode to add the 2 lines of text. Since we are in the telaview mode, any previous content in output.text can be replaced. We think this mode is great for logging and storing new data, but use it caution to avoid accidental disk data loss. Okay, so here is done. Now this time scrolling is port and click on enter the run icon. As you can see here, it's probably working in this port statement and just completely done in this write mode program. Okay, so another topic for here is appending a file element. Finally, just let's see how to add data to an existing file without or overwriting it using this append here or a. This mode is perfect when you want to add to a file's content. Let's append data to output .txt file inside. Okay, so just I'm changing here and then includes is a. Sorry, I'm just here is a new again, and this one is output.txt file, and using this for appending mode. And now you are only using for all this line of data. So I'm just message. So just type over here is the file, right? And including for the message, first of all I am typing here is a new line, and including for here this thing, adding the line at the end. Okay, so you can see here the properly defined, and this output .txt is append more reusing for the file. This right, maybe we add a new line at the end, unlike right or more. Adopting mode doesn't erase existing content, it simply adds new information. Okay, so now let's just, I'm saving this code and just I'm perfectly run this code now. So you can see it here properly working, and just I'm verifying. So you can see, just run this one and open for this outputting. This text here is completely working for this tutorial. So in this session, I will explore for the 3 essential file modes in Python, like read mode, write mode, and the append mode. Okay, so I hope you got a perfect understanding of those tutorials. Hi everyone, and welcome back to our today's Python programming series. So today we will learn about file modes in Python. So file modes like read, write, and append. So let us control how we can interact with file understanding this mode in cursor for the file handling in Python. So today, first of all, I will explain the overview of file modes in Python. In Python, when you open a file and need to specify a mode that tells Python how to handle the file, 3 main modes are for R for reading, and blue for writing, and A for appending. And today I'm first using this example of reading files. So first of all, R mode is used to read a file, is default mode. So you can just, if you open a file without specifying a mode, it open in read mode. So now let's try a file called a sample dot the text file inside. Okay, so first of all, I'm applying using this read and using this open. I'm just green removed, and including for the double photo shows. Here I'm type for the file name is a sample fixed file. Okay, and now I'm creating the file in the write mode as a file. Okay, I'm just going this next line, and here I type for this being contained to is equal to define for the file log is type for here is a read mode. I'm using this a print function and probably printing for this context. So you can see here in this content inside, I'm just creating this no data, no text, and you can simply printing but not show for the output. And you can see, just open this simple that takes in the read mode, and the file read function needs the read. The intent content we can see is print. Remember, for the write mode will throw an error, will the file not exist. Okay, so now this is already explained here. So this is a deal going to just extending and reading the data without modifying it. Okay, so I hope you understand it's simple of reading data. So next topic for writing a file for the RMW. So let's look for the write mode. For the W mode allows us to write new data to a file. Be careful to is overwriting or existing content if the file does not exist and create a new one. So let's write some data to a file name for the text. And after all, I remove for this one. Okay, so here I'm just including 4 is a simple and wait and time for open, and now here I'm using for a sample file or increase the text. Okay, and now you're creating a sample of writing and including for as a file. Okay, so next line here I'm defined for is a 5 dot style. Here is the write mode and this inside including for the message. So first of all, I type this is a new line of page. Oh. Okay. And then going this next line, and here I'm using a apply is a 5 dot style. For here is the write mode and including for. First of all, here the cipher is overwriting and existing content. Okay, so you can see here there's properly using this and here. Just open for here the output txt in the write mode. Use for the file dot the write mode to add the 2 lines of text. Since we are in the teleview mode, any previous content in output.text can be replaced. We think this mode is great for logging and storing new data, but use it caution to avoid accidental disk data loss. Okay, so here is done. Now this time scrolling is port and click on enter the run icon. As you can see here, it's probably working in this port statement and just completely done in this write mode program. Okay, so another topic for here is appending a file element. Finally, just let's see how to add data to an existing file without or overwriting it using this append here or this mode is perfect when you want to add to a file's content. Let's append data to output.txt file inside. Okay, so just I'm changing here and then includes is a here is a new again, and this one is output.txt file and using this for appending mode. And now you are only using for all this line of data. So I'm just message. So just type over here is the file, right? And including for the message, first of all I'm typing here is a new line and including for here this thing, adding the line at the end. Okay, so you can see here the properly defined and this output.txt is append more reusing for the file. This right, maybe we add a new line at the end unlike right or more. Adopting mode doesn't erase existing content, it simply adds new information. Okay, so now let's just I'm saving this code and just I'm perfectly run this code now. So you can see it here properly working and just I'm verifying. So you can see just run this one and open for this outputting this text here is completely working for this tutorial. So in this session I will explore for the 3 essential file modes in Python like read mode, write mode and the append mode. Okay, so I hope you got a perfect understanding of those tutorials